How's it going, y'all? I'm Danny, and this is my course walkthrough for the This Side of Heaven Championship course in Jonesboro, Arkansas. It was pretty wet and soggy out there, but I think I got a couple of good shots. I should be able to show y'all what's up. This is the course that's going to be used for the Jonesboro Open in 2018. It's a Pro Tour stop, and I guess that's it. Yeah, let's jump right into it. Hole 1 here is 450-foot par 3. I'm throwing a Fusion Defender, and really you just don't want to be left or right. Just if you can't reach this hole, just throw it straight and get it in the middle of the fairway and take your jump putt. I'm about circle's edge here on the right side, uphill putt, and I guess I don't know. I didn't really want this one, but yeah, putting was off, and I'm sort of shaking off some off-season rust here. So hole 2, going Fusion Defender out of Big Hyzer. This is an 820-foot par 4. And this tee shot, they moved this tee pad up a little bit from last year, so you can kind of gap it straight a little bit easier, which is probably what I should have done. But you really don't want to be too far left. My footing was really, really hard here. I'm going Fusion Defender again on the upshot, and I just can't reach it. There's really hard to get distance off the tee here because you either have to gap it or go Big Hyzer. So Lucid Warden upshot, I'm taking a par on this one. Not too bad. Moving on to hole 3, this is a 435-foot par 3. I'm going Lucid Trespass off the tee. Just a hyzer flip. It plays over a valley, sort of. It doesn't really go downhill hardly at all. But yeah, this is a hole that's in your head you always get it, but in practice it doesn't always work out that way. This is a beautiful shot out of that Trespass. Yeah, I got kind of lucky there. That was my first shot off the tee, too. It took me a few tries on hole 1, but that was my first shot on hole 3. Got it there. Moving on to hole 4 here. This is a low ceiling off the tee. You could throw a backhand or a forehand anhyzer. I was just worried about the ceiling, and my backhand was coming out nose up, so I just took the forehand, throw a little anhyzer, because you want to be on that left side. If you're anywhere on the right, those trees are going to pinch you off and make your upshot a little bit harder. So I'm just going a Lucid Verdict here for my upshot. I want to say it's like a 600-foot hole. So, yeah, just play a couple of 300-foot shots and call it a day. You don't want to make this one too complicated. Just get off to that left side underneath the ceiling and then pitch up. Hole 5 here is a 495-foot par 3. There is OB short of the basket, so I'm just laying up short with an EMAC Truth. This one actually almost went OB, though. It went pretty far. This is pretty far downhill, so it is actually reachable. I tried throwing a Defender here to try and reach it. I sawed it off a little bit, and you see that nose up. But it was going. It could have got there if it had flexed a little bit to the right, but it caught those bushes right at the end. It just barely wasn't over. So, yeah, the shot's there. It's 495, doesn't quite play that far, but it's a real risky shot with that OB on the right. And plus, if you lay up short, you still have a jump putt at it. So I think that's going to be the play. It's just a putter or mid-range, just straight through it and pitch up there. Moving on to hole 6, it's a 315-foot forehand. That's about the only shot that's really going to work consistently here is that forehand. That's my Kremlin out there, Biofusion Criminal. Just took me a few tries to get the glide on that disc because I tended to saw it off. But yeah, this one shouldn't be anything too complicated. Moving on to hole 7 here, 615-foot par 4, which is kind of short for a par 4, but this hole is really tricky. Uphill over the little hill there off the tee really takes off a lot of your distance because you have to throw it so high. So I just went with a hyzer flip trespass, and this second shot, the gap for the basket is on the left there. So you really have to throw either a forehand or an anhyzer, but with the branches up high, I think a forehand's the shot. So go as far as you can and then throw a forehand. It looks like you could gap it through that right side, but there's really not an angle through there. You might be able to throw like a grenade or something through the top, but I think just having a forehand or an anhyzer is going to be ideal. I didn't quite skip into the green here. I was right on the edge of it, and I still had a putt there. So I think that's the way to go. Hole 8 here is a 324-foot par 3, and this one again is just a forehand. You really have to have a backhand and a forehand on this course. That's a Fusion Defender because all my criminals were terrible. So you just got to make sure you get glide on it, get it out there, and let it fade into the basket. It shouldn't be anything too complicated if you've got a forehand. Simon throws a FD roller, though. That's stupid. Hole 9 here, 750-foot par 4. I'm going Lucid Trespass. There's kind of a gap off the tee. You can see those branches on the left and the right. They kick down everything I threw at them. So really, ideally, you'd finish a little bit further left than that here, but, I mean, that's not too bad. There is an alternate tee pad up here that I'm not sure if they're going to be using for the tournament, and from here, you might be able to reach the top of that hill. That's a Fusion Defender there, but most of my tee shots are going to end up on that slant, which makes footing a little bit hard. It's ideal to throw like a forehand because of the way the green opens up, but I went with the backhand here and just got it low. It'd really have to fade straight. If you're going to park it, you're going to want to throw a forehand, but the backhand will get up there to give you a putt. This is about 50 feet downhill, and I just didn't even try and throw it in. That was terrible. But I'm going to wrap up the par. Nothing too complicated here. Moving on to hole 10, this is a 360-foot par 3, and if you have the forehand for this hole, that is the shot. As you can see, I do not. I don't have quite enough power on my forehand to get it there, but a forehand is ideal because it'll fade towards that basket. Now, there is not OB, but it's pretty much OB. It's nastiness on the right. I went with a backhand Emac Truth, and I think this is what I'm probably going to throw in the tournament because it was beautiful. Just nice and straight, and the whole play is a little bit downhill, so it kind of glided underneath that ceiling and kept going. Gave me this 20-foot putt that I should really make, but I suck at putting, so that's about it. Hole 11 here is a 560-foot par 4. The shot off the tee is a hyzer with whatever disc you have. You don't want to saw it off short because there's OB, but you really can't go long, so just throw a generic hyzer and you'll probably be in the open. The second shot is a forehand again. That green opens up to the left. They do that a lot out on this course. They really make you have a backhand and a forehand if you're going to be competitive. If you don't have both of those shots, you're going to be struggling. So nothing too complicated about this par 4. Just throw a hyzer, throw a forehand, and don't be in the trees. Hole 12 here is 655 feet, and this is another one with 2 tee pads. It really does take some power, though, to get over that creek. The basket's up there behind those that grouping of trees. It takes a lot more power than I expected to get over here. I walked up and threw one. I threw like a hyzer, and I thought it was over, and it landed right in the water. So this is that alternate tee pad. The first shot was a Fusion Defender. This is a Lucid Trespass that I have this very beat up, and I'm just, it's a lot easier to clear the creek here, but it's really not going to get you a putt on a par 4. So upshot here is a forehand. I can see a backhand work in the back. The basket is on that slope though, so it's going to be tricky to put it really close without any ground action. But I did. I have about a 25-footer here, and I again can't make a putt. That's cool. Hole 13 here is a 353-foot par 3, and it is a very sharp dogleg to the left. You've got to get a hyzer out of your hand and some flare towards the basket. They, again, had a different tee pad here. I don't know if we're going to be playing this, but I figured I would show it. It plays, I want to say like 290 feet, just a much easier hyzer. It's up and to the right. This is my jump putt from my first tee shot, and I just didn't want it enough. Didn't quite get up there. Hole 14 here is a 520-foot par 3. And it's downhill, so you'd think it'd be reachable, but it's a chunk. It's a hard shot to get. So you don't want to be in those woods on the right. They might be OB, but they are definitely not where you want to be. And it was very muddy. You see how I was pretty much in a puddle there. So I didn't really care about this upshot, but my play is going to be to lay up short and then pitch it up there. Hole 15 here is 270 feet. I'm going with a verdict on a hyzer. This is the easiest hole on the course. The green slants to the left, so you don't want to get too tricky with it, but just throw a nice easy hyzer up there. Is the par 5, 850 feet. I'm going Fusion Defender off the tee, and there's water that's short. There's water that is between the end of the fairway and the basket that plays OB, and so it takes 2 really good chunks to get there. I'm going for it on my second shot here, trying to play an Anheuser with that Lucid Trespass, and I think this one's in the water. You see I start waving at it there? I was convinced that one was just going to splash, but it barely cleared it. Barely landed over on the other side, and that gave me this nice little easy pitch up, and it really doesn't feel like a birdie. This one almost plays more like a par 4. It's a really hard par 4 or a kind of easy par 5. I bet you most people are going to be taking a 4 on this hole. Moving on to hole 17 here. 17 has an OB fence down the left side, but the further right you go, the more pinched off you are from getting to the green. So I'm throwing a stable defender on that sort of a flex line, that flat release, getting it to the right to get that distance, and then fading back left, but not too far. And you can see if I was any further right, I would have a really hard time accessing this basket. It's around and to the right there. And left, you can see where that OB fence is. So I threw an Anheuser with a Biocriminal, and then I'm going with the forehand Biocriminal, and I decided to fall down for extra flair there. But I reached it with the forehand and the backhand. I think I would probably go with a forehand next time just because of the consistent fade towards the basket. But the backhand went a little bit right. It went down this hill into these bushes. And this was pretty barren right now, but I bet you if this grows up, this is not going to be a fun spot to be. I mean, I can't make the putt regardless, but Hole 18 here is the hardest par 4 on the course, I think. 818 feet. I'm going a big hyzer off the tee because that gap was small, and this hyzer landed right in the mud. It's not like a huge shot to get over all of that stuff, but it's a pretty good chunk. Going up the gut is trickier because it's a tiny gap, but you're probably not going to be as far off the fairway. if you don't power it up enough. I actually ended up throwing for my second shot because it wasn't as muddy, but the basket is still way, way up there. It's hard to get a lot of distance off of this tee. So I'm going with a Lucid Trespass on a hyzer flip, and it doesn't get there. It's pretty short and to the right, and so I'll just take my Lucid Warden, upshot here, and then tap in for the 3. And that is the course. That is the gold course at this side of heaven in Jonesboro, Arkansas. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Like I said, my form wasn't perfect. I have a lot of nose up on that release, and my putting was definitely off. So thank you. Please save those comments for another video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks, y'all.